God Disease is a Helsinki, Finland-based death doom metal band with a bit of a melodic death doom affect to their sound. Now, they started out playing some form of death metal, a little bit of a groove thing, and then they quickly broke up, restaffed later on, and the EPs that they've got up online are all in a death to metal style, which is maybe leaning a little bit more towards the old school, simple, straightforward type early on. Now they eventually put out a debut full length on FDA Records, which was very good. It was sort of a modern take on the melodic death to metal sound, which was still aggressive, still old school, but it felt like there was some manner of sludge metal influence. There was something interesting about how it tied things together, and it was a very strong production value. It read very well on first listen, and I was looking forward to this one as a follow-up to it several years later. I think that first record was back in 2019. So now we'll listen to a clip first just to get a sense of. I can't show you the difference, or I'm not going to bother showing you the difference between the two records, but this is a different fidelity, a different voice for the band, and we'll just get right to that now. So the guitar tone on this record is a bit. It's not that it's thin. It's a little bit digital. It's a little bit washed out in a different way than the first record was, and the leads are pushed back a little bit. It makes for a more distant but more eerily melodic take on melodic death doom metal, and I think that this works if you were looking for those kind of Paradise Lost styled influences in bands like Solothus or Hooded Menace, even in the 2010s. Uh, but they don't quite get there in terms of the catchier stuff. Now, for each recording, they've changed lineups quite a bit, where the two guitarists leave at different points, and it seems they've hired the guitarist from Ferrum and a related act, Kodu, for this album, and it makes for a very stiffly performed rhythm, which is a little bit thin in terms of tone, but it is successfully atmospheric. I think my problem with it was that it wasn't what I expected it to sound like. It wasn't as heavy as, like their label mates Ophis, I mention here. It wasn't as impactful as I was expecting, probably because I was missing the subtleties of the melodicism and the traditional doom metal influences. It does sound like they've been listening to a lot more classic or traditional doom metal and finding things that they liked there, and replacing the sludge feeling complexities of the previous album with something that is more movement based and less riff based. So this means they use quite a bit of dissonance in some of their voicing in the rhythm guitars, but the leads carry the record in a lot of ways, without, again, creating a very catchy thread throughout the whole thing. It's pretty interesting because it's something that an early Catatonia fan will immediately understand, but it's not as... they don't create that sort of stasis of thought or that crystalline moment that takes you from one place to another. This is a very kind of miserable, steeped in its own feelings sort of record, and it does stay mid-pace throughout. So it never feels fully death metal. It never feels fully melodic. It sort of wafts in the air in an unpleasant way. And I didn't appreciate that until I sort of realized that it was conveying a mood. It just wasn't one that I liked very much. So getting over that and just appreciating the sound design and the maybe the purpose they put into this in that regard, I did appreciate it. But it's more of a moderate recommendation because it took me a while to get there. So I had a lot more to say in the review, not too much more, but you can read more about it there, and we'll listen to another song on the way out.